Hello everybody, so it's your boy, it's me, it's Zach. Today we are going to be doing a sketchbook tour of a watercolor sketchbook, this one. This is a Seth Strathmore 400 series watercolor sketchbook. I stole this from one of my absolute favorite artists of all time to ever exist across the entire time periods of art. Kellogg's Loops, he used this, and I think even though it's more expensive and like the paper might not be as good as like watercolor pads or like watercolor loose paper, I like the idea that you have a sketchbook because you can flip through like all of it and you can see your growth page to page. Love that. And so we're gonna go through it. It is 48 pages, which is really 24 sheets. And so I didn't draw on the back of all of the pages, and so probably there's like, let's say 26 paintings here. It's me like trying to figure out watercolor, gouache, sketch out things, and yeah, just paint. So here we go. Here's the sketchbook. All of these stickers I designed myself. This is from a little sticker from a brand I purchased a single brush for him. Yeah, let's get into it. So this is 6 years old. I started it February 2018 and then just finished it like last week when I'm recording this, in February 2024. So this is 6 years old. So it has 6 years of paintings, 6 years of growth, and 6 years of what I like to make in art. So they're gonna be rough, but we're gonna see some improvement, which is the cool part. So this first page is supposed to be a self-portrait, but this is obviously when I was getting used to drawing portraits, getting used to just watercolor. And honestly, looking back at it, for my skill back then, it's actually not bad. I was able to get kind of the darkness of the watercolor. I was trying to get used to how to use watercolor and all of that. So for my skill back then, honestly, I'm not mad. And then here, just a sketch. Yeah, so this was just me trying to get used to watercolor, understanding how to mix colors, how to get skin, and also just draw a human face and make it look like the person I was trying to draw. This, I think, is from Voltron. I don't exactly remember, but I was trying to do some cool watercolor techniques, like do some wet on wet, get things very dark, used masking fluid to make things very bright, to kind of make like a light effect. Same thing as this painting. I'm just trying to draw faces, figure out how to make darks on watercolor, do some cool watercolor effects, and then fun, shiny gold. This is when I first got gouache. So these are just watercolor sketches, just practicing again how to do faces. This is gouache, and then that's gouache when I first got gouache. Trying to figure out how to do that and how to make that look cool. Just trying different techniques, using like tape, just trying to paint people, figure out how to make a human look like a human. And then this, I actually made a speed paint on my art account for Instagram, which I don't use anymore. I really like the idea, like butterflies coming off the human skin of like some kind of anguished person. And then the butterflies are shiny, which is the funnest part, my favorite part. I'm kind of a fan of that. I could see myself revisiting it. This, I just got this, the black brush ink pen. So made a little sketch to figure that out, how to use it. Same thing, just trying to figure out how to use watercolor and get the lights and the darks and such. This, I love the idea. I love fish and little kois in watercolor. Definitely credit to Kellogg's Loops. But I gave up because, as you can see, like kind of the skin is really uneven, and then obviously not obviously, but that kind of indicates I didn't let the paper fully dry before putting on new layers, and so it just like never layered properly to look like a cool kind of painting. Me using gouache and some watercolor. This, I'm a super big fan of this. I really like this. I titled it War, trying to be really like philosophical and poetic. Childlike experiencing two different sides of something that I can't change. That was the point of it. I don't do philosophical paintings or paintings with meaning anymore. But I do really like this. I really like how the skin, even though it's kind of very brown, it's not very super muddy. It's kind of purple, and then the forms are pretty good. I'm a big fan of this painting. I really like that. Booby, but just faces, using gouache, trying to figure that out. Again, practicing faces, doing some kind of like abstract watercolor things, trying to figure out how I want to paint faces in watercolor. This is more recent, so these kind of were definitely, this is probably 5 years old, maybe 4. This is probably for 3 or 4 years. This I was trying to paint the next painting on the page, but I gave up because I hated it. And also because I kept erasing and redrawing and erasing, redrawing, and so that just completely destroyed the paper, so I just gave up and moved on to the next page. And it's kind of what a sketchbook is for. Sometimes you fuck up and you fail. I love this. This is gouache. I should have definitely finished this. I love how I drew these hands, especially this one and this one right here. These two hands look so good, and I really like the idea. It's kind of elegant, and me using gouache again. I don't know why I didn't finish it. I think it was because I kind of gave up and didn't like how I was rendering the face and how it was looking, but I think looking back now, I'm a big fan of it. This, I gave up on it because it was taking too long and I was too lazy to finish it. But I did do a different like crystal painting of another lady, but using watercolor and then gouache for the crystal. This is kind of the idea of like, see no evil, hear no evil. Is kind of what I base it on, and that's why there's like hands covering it and then her eyes covered. Yeah, I like this one. This one's pretty cool. This I gave up on. Looking back on it, I love it. I really like the cool shadows he sees, and then you can see there's definitely like this peaks, and the forms are looking really solid. But I think I was just like, I didn't embrace the full chaos that watercolor brings, and so I gave up on it. And looking back, I'm a kind of fan of it. These are just sketches, trying to just paint faces and understand how I want to render faces. This one's too cold. I'm a bigger fan of this one that's warmer. These two, I put too much Payne's Gray, which is one of my favorite watercolors, but too much of it, and it makes the skin look very dead and like necrotic, pale. This is more recent. This is around 3 years old. 2 years old, I want to say. It's when I just started to college. Painted again in this. Love it. The subtlety of the skin, the subtlety of the form. I definitely had much more understanding of how to render faces and how to make the illusion of 3D form on a 2D surface. And then same thing, this is 2 years ago, just practicing faces, trying to understand and do faces. And then as you can see also, this is kind of when I get to more paintings rendering and more sketchier paintings and just trying out new ideas, trying to figure out cool ways to render things and make people look like people and kind of abstract it in an interesting way. This is at the most a year old. Love this painting. And of course it's still, I would classify this as a sketch, even though it's a much more rendered and finished sketch. But these gold wasn't very planned. I'm not a fan of how this gouache and how it like immediately pulls your eye to this fish. I like this one, how it blends into the background. Looks super cool, but I need to figure out a way to dull down and desaturate this orange so that your eye isn't immediately pulled to it and you're instead pulled to the figure with the bright white hair, and then you look at the fish. But I do love how I did the shadows, how I rendered the body, and then I love this background. I think that's super cool and the texture is awesome. And again, just trying to render and make more finished paintings in the sketchbook, even though it is a sketchbook, but just like experimenting and not worrying that like, maybe I'll never open this again, you know? This painting, a few months ago as of recording this, I absolutely adore this painting. I love this. I think this is super awesome. I love how I rendered the figure's face and also the beard and his hair. At first I was gonna leave the hair white, but then I was like, you know what, I'll try painting the hair, and super glad I did that. Love how I did the hands, the face. The tiger at first was looking really, really rough. I was not a fan of it, but then I just kept going with it, and then once I added the stripes on the tiger, it actually pulled it together so much and helped put the illusion of form of the tiger. And I really like how it's kind of almost transparent, and I just love how I use gouache here to kind of do the effects afterward of like it dripping away. I love this painting. I am a huge fan of this. I don't see myself revisiting it to make a more finished version, but I am very happy with this. I could see myself scanning it and printing it though, so that I have like a copy to hang up, or even literally just cutting this out. These are a few weeks ago as I'm recording this as well. So this one, it was a bunch of experimentation. So I found a reference, and I just a reference that did not look like this, of a little doggy. And I just kind of went with it. I said I wanted to make something look bright. And maybe halfway through I was like, you know what, let's make this reflection and do some water. And I love how the water looks. I love how the back galaxy in the background looks, and I love the beam of light, how it does look bright, and it's kind of putting those, what is it? Bouncing light, occlusive light, I don't know, the ambient light around the figure. Huge fan of this, and I love how I did the light in the water. I love this one. Even though like the structure of this figure is not the best, and definitely could be better, could look better, and then like especially like the highlights and such. I love the overall composition. I think it's very interesting, super cool. This was supposed to be Arwen, but that's fine. I was just trying to practice rendering faces, paint hair. Yeah, that's it, just a practice, just kind of for fun. I love this page. I think this is so funny. Just painted some goofy dogs, and I decided to use green because I never use green. And I think this is so cute. These are the goofiest dogs. This is Quigley, my best friend's dog. This is Millie, our new dog. This is Roxy, my cousin's dog. And then this is just a random Chihuahua from Instagram. I love this. I think it's super cute. I think these dogs, I love. Look here, how I rendered this section right here. I don't know, just this whole page. I did record like a full time lapse of this, which I might post on the YouTube here. But it is vertical, but whatever. Big fan of this. I loved how I rendered this. This is using gouache, so it's not watercolor. It's gouache and then watercolor background just to add some kind of color. I do wish I didn't put so many like gouache things and then desaturated them some more and watered them down and made them a bit more blue, so that it's kind of like this one where it has like the perfect amount of like green accents, but whatever. I love this. I think it's super interesting, super cool. And the perspective of these is really, really good. Like these are 0.5 lens, and then this one too. And I think I accomplished the perspective really, really accurately to the references. And I'm really proud of myself for this page. And so here's the last page. And so if you recall, I did a self-portrait at the front. And so I thought it would be poetic, since it's 6 years, to do a self-portrait in the back. And then this I did literally just last week. Did shinies because they're fun. I picked a really good reference of myself, especially not when smiling. Like usually the photos I like of myself are smiling, but I just decided I found one from when I traveled of me not smiling, and I'm a fan of it. Although I don't like how dark this skin is, and that's because the reference had much darker skin, and so I was trying to accomplish exactly how dark the skin was without acknowledgement of how dark the background was, so that the skin didn't look too dark. I should have brightened it, but regardless, Big fan of this. I really like how it looks. I like the glazes and the colors. I like the yellows, and then you can see like purples and like these oranges. I also got burnt sienna, which burnt sienna watercolor, like a professional grade one. Not sure I like using it for watercolor and painting skin, but burnt sienna on with gouache skin is super, super awesome. Love how it looks there, but I'm not sure I like it here for painting watercolor skin, because you can just layer on oranges and oranges. You don't need to make a brown, except for like specific parts here. Like this eye, out of everything on this painting, this eye is my favorite. I love how dark the socket is, and then the little highlights there. I love that. And obviously this doesn't look too much like me, but I think I captured my likeness well enough that if I didn't tell you it was a self-portrait, I think people could see it was a self-portrait. And then yeah, sparkles again, because I think that's really fun and interesting, where you can see more interest when you view it in a more 180 degrees as opposed to head on. You can see different things around it, and it just adds some really cool interest in contrast in different lightings. Yeah, there it is. And then here's just a final page. So that's that sketchbook. 6 years old, 6 years of growth. Loved it. Not a fan of cold press watercolor paper, but I do love that this is kind of located in one thing. I think it's super cool to be able to look back on and see exactly the order in which I created these paintings, and see from every single page improvement from page to page to page. So yeah, thanks for watching. See you in the next video, if I ever make one. Probably will. Yeah, bye-bye.